host, Amber Akilla. This is my podcast where I talk about stuff and things, cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. I am a DJ, a creative consultant. You can follow me on Instagram at Amber Akilla, TikTok, SoundCloud, Spotify if you want to hear music curated by me. The meme page for this podcast is at friend.crush on Instagram, and I love hearing feedback, questions, thoughts and feelings, requests for future topics. So please feel free to send them through to that account at friend.crush on Instagram. Yeah, I really appreciate people reaching out to me. It means a lot. By the time this episode comes out, I think it will be the second week of January. So I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you got some rest over the holidays. And I hope you are feeling fresh and ready for the new year. I suppose that's, easier said than done given the panini that we're still in and trying to navigate. So my heart really goes out to anyone that's struggling or dealing with a lot as a result of the pandemic or just as a result of life in general. And I wish you the best. I'm sending you strength and love and light. And I hope that, the light at the end of the tunnel is going to be visible to you and possible for you to move towards sooner rather than later. It's really tough when we have, challenges that we need to overcome. But remember that, the opportunity, remember that challenges give you the opportunity for growth in a way that, when your life is just going well and you're easy breezy, you don't have that opportunity. So try your best to take it in your stride and focus on what you can control. Let go of anything that you have no influence over. Sometimes we just have to wait out the storm. Anyway, does anyone have any New Year's resolutions? I didn't really have any. I just feel like it's so hard to get excited about time now because there's so much uncertainty. So it's just been better for me to try to focus on the present moment, what I can do in the short term that builds upon some kind of foundation for some sort of long-term goal, rather than constantly worrying about, whether I can travel anywhere, whether I can literally influence or do anything that's completely out of my control. So that's what's been helping me. Grounding exercises that I've mentioned a lot over the last year of the podcast. And anyway, let's get into it because I'm rambling. But this episode is going to be about the any benefit principle. This principle that I read about in this book called Deep Work by Newport. And the book is about how you can better structure your time so that you have focused periods and you're doing quote unquote deep work, and then balancing that with any quote unquote shallow work you might need to do. So for me as a freelancer, I'm always trying to find ways to balance between client projects and my own projects. I've always had trouble managing my time, always. I procrastinate really easily. I get distracted really easily. And yeah, there's a difference between, as I've mentioned before, discomfort that comes in service of your personal growth and professional growth. There are difficult tasks that we have to do in order to make progress, but that is different to any discomfort that you might feel by removing or ignoring your own boundaries when it comes to interpersonal relationships. So something I've been trying to work on a lot over the last 2 years, and this book really did help me make progress in that sense, and I'm going to try my best to implement what I've learned and see if it's helpful for me. When I have done it, it's helped, but then Christmas, etc., New Year's, I just kind of dropped the ball a bit. So yeah, this any benefit principle, he talks about it in terms of social media, and he makes an argument for quitting social media, or at least figuring out which social media platforms to spend your time on to ensure that you have free time to practice deep work and you're not just letting your time be sucked out of your eyeballs and into a screen. And I think depending on different people's situations, this is going to apply differently. For me, social media is very much part of my job, and it has provided me opportunities and access and a point of contact for a lot of things. So it makes sense for me to have it and to use it, but I do try to manage my relationship with social media and the amount of time and attention that I give to it, because I really don't think that it's an all or nothing that we need to approach it with. I think once you understand how these apps are designed, how they take advantage of your little rat brain, then you can figure out how to manage the way that you use it. But he talks about it in terms of social media. But when I read this, was like, okay, people do this with everything, actually. It applies to your friends, your relationships, maybe even your jobs. For me, my wardrobe and my clothes. So I'm going to explain the any benefit principle in the context of the book and social media, and then I'm just going to briefly discuss how I think it applies to other areas of our life and what my sort of takeaway is. So rule number 3 for deep work by Cal Newport is that you need to quit social media. He says your willpower is limited, and therefore the more enticing tools you have pulling at your attention, the harder it'll be to maintain focus on something important. And to master the art of deep work, therefore, you must take back control of your time and attention from the many diversions that attempt to steal from them. So he says, before we start fighting back against these distractions, it's better to understand the battlefield. So he says that we kind of have like a binary response to the problem of social media taking up a lot of our attention. The two choices between just being fully online and being fully offline suggests there needs to be some sort of middle ground, and it's accepting that the tools are not inherently evil and that some of them might be quite vital to our success and happiness, but at the same time also accepting that the threshold for allowing a site regular access to our time and attention, not to mention our personal data, should be much more stringent, and that most people should therefore be using many fewer such tools. So it's not like you have to fully quit, but again, like I've mentioned before, just finding a middle ground. And it doesn't have to be in relation to your desire to do deep work. It can just be in relation to your body image, your self-esteem, the people that you want to be in contact with or to have access to you, or your mental health and just your general mental stability, because there are so many factors that social media can influence in our lives without realizing. And when we start to develop an awareness of them, we can better manage. It's important to understand the default decision process deployed by most internet users. In the fall of 2013, he received insight into this process because of an article that he wrote explaining why he never joined Facebook. And though it was an explanatory, not accusatory article or approach that he took, a lot of the readers started to get defensive, and the justifications for their use of the service included entertainment being their initial draw to Facebook, to see what their friends are up to, make quick comments. When they first joined, they were just curious. They joined, a forum of like short fiction stories, and it improved their writing. And then they use Facebook because a lot of people they know in high school are on there. So he said that what striked him about these responses was that they're pretty minor. He doesn't doubt that they did find entertainment from Facebook, or that they were able to maintain contact with people they might otherwise not have access to. None of these things are central to their sense of social connection or their happiness. He's not trying to denigrate the benefits, but he emphasizes that the benefit is somewhat minor and also a bit random. So someone might say to this, well, value is value. And if you find some extra benefit in using a service like Facebook, even if it's small, then why not use it? He calls this the any benefit mindset, and it identifies any possible benefit as sufficient justification for using a network tool. So the any benefit approach to network tool selection is that you've justified using a network tool if you can identify any possible benefit to its use, or anything you might possibly miss out on if you don't use it. So the problem with this approach is that it ignores all of the negatives that come along with using these tools, because they're supposed to be addictive. They rob us of our time and attention and from activities that directly support professional and personal goals. So eventually, if you use the tools enough, you'll arrive at a state of burned out, hyper-distracted connectivity that plagues so many people. And when you're at that point, that's when you start to encounter the true insidious nature of the any benefit mindset, because you don't attempt to weigh pros and cons, and instead you just look for any glimpse of some potential benefit as justification for unrestrained use of a tool, and therefore you're unwittingly crippling your ability to succeed in the world of knowledge work. So he's saying that if you consider it more objectively in the context of network tools, we've become comfortable with the any benefit mindset. And if we zoom out and consider the mindset in the broader context of skilled labor, it eventually seems like a bizarre and ahistorical approach to choosing tools. In another section, he differentiates between the craftsman approach to tool selection. So it's important to identify the core factors that determine success and happiness in your professional and personal life. Adopt a tool only if its positive impacts on these factors substantially outweigh its negative impacts. Notice that this craftsman approach to tool selection stands in opposition to the any benefit approach. Whereas the any benefit mindset identifies any potential positive impact as justification for using a tool, the craftsman variant requires that these positive impacts affect factors at the core of what's important to you and that they outweigh the negatives. This put words into something that I've been thinking about a lot in terms of relationships, friendships, just general approach to life, even my wardrobe, because I think as soon as this was described to me, I was like, yeah, it's so obvious that people do this to everything. I could say in the context of my friendships, there was times in my life where any benefit friends, it's like we just kind of are friends by availability or by association, by circumstance. I don't feel that close to any one person, but I have a group of friends that I see every weekend. Even if I don't feel emotionally safe with certain members of said group, and when I voice my concerns or my discomfort, I go unheard, it's still just like the familiarity of this group of people and the any benefit approach. Like, oh, you know, we have similar interests, we do similar things on the weekend. That's benefit enough for me to be friends with them, even if I don't feel emotionally safe with them, I don't feel seen. And it's not like me making a value judgment on people, saying they're bad people because that's the type of connection I have with them. It's just like, it's not beneficial to me or even to them really if we don't feel that connected to each other. When I grew out of those friendships or kind of left them behind and was able to really connect with people that I trusted and felt safe with and supported and respected, then the idea of just having friends for the sake of having friends became less and less appealing to me. I don't necessarily have less friends than before, but I feel like the quality of my friendships is so much better, and the bar and standard I have for a friendship, a close friendship, is much higher than it used to be. And obviously it took me getting out of those earlier friendships to better understand what was possible for me to experience and to how I could connect with people, and I'm grateful for both experiences. I don't regret anything. You can't know what you don't have, I guess. And I feel like in those earlier friendships, I could feel that something was off because it didn't seem right. There was definitely some people that I was closer with and it felt safer, and then other people where even though we spent a lot of time together or spoke really often, it just kind of felt imbalanced. And it took the really difficult decision of walking away from those friendships to realize that it just wasn't a good fit. We weren't as compatible as we wanted to think that we were. And there were other people out there for all of us that were better suited to us and what we needed in friendships. And I'm really grateful that I have friends now that I feel safe with and supported by, and that I can support. I am much better at gauging the type of people that I want to have around me because of those experiences. I'm not just trying to connect with anyone and everybody on a close, intimate level now, because that means I don't have as much energy to give to the close friends I already have. And I think when you haven't really put in that energy to let go of the things that aren't beneficial to you, the friendships that don't really serve any purpose in your life other than just familiarity, until you're able to let go of those things, it can be hard to really put your energy into yourself, firstly, so that you can set a boundary, and then to connect with the people that you really do resonate with. And that's the hardest part. firstly, you have to recognize that what the situation you're in isn't really working. Then you have to be willing to let it go and let it go completely, because you can't really be 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. Your friendship with the person who you don't really feel that safe with will start to affect the other friendships that do mean a lot more to you. When you start complaining about someone that you know and that you kind of are losing respect for or losing a connection with to the people that you really are connected with on a regular basis, that starts to affect your other friendships. It doesn't mean you can't vent. It doesn't mean you can't go to your friends for help and advice. But I really do think that is a tipping point where it's like, at the end of the day, your friends that you do feel safe with can't make a decision for you in terms of walking away from the friend that you've just grown apart from. Being able to recognize that is tough, but trust me, it's worth it. When I speak from my own experience, and I'm sure anybody else that's been through that kind of thing, which is like just part of growing up, can say the same. So yeah, the any benefit approach applies in friendships. I think it also applies in relationships, and I don't think it matters whether you're monogamous or poly. I don't have any lived experience being poly, but I see a lot of people talking about it. And for me personally, I don't think I would ever do polyamory. I find that it's like hard enough to like one person. I don't know how I could manage being in a full-on relationship with more than one person, to be honest. But whether you're dating multiple people at once or one person at a time, I think it's easy to get into this any benefit approach to dating and think, oh, well, this person brings something, that person brings something, the other person brings something else, and they're all worth entertaining because any benefit. There's a little bit of benefit here and there, so we may as well just entertain it all. And for me personally, I think that it's so much more rewarding to feel deeply connected to one person and to feel really accepted and to be able to make healthy compromises with each other so that you are able to support each other, love each other, respect each other, instead of like kind of scattergunning your energy across multiple different people and then also having to deal with sexual boundaries with more than one person. I think like for me, my friendships are really important. My self-care is really important. A relationship needs to fit into that. It can't take over all those things. So I can't imagine how I could balance all of those if I was either dating back-to-back people or dating multiple people at once. I think for women, it's like you'll entertain attention from multiple guys at once, even if you're not really into any one of them, just for the ego stroke, just for the attention, for the validation. Nothing wrong with that, but I think that if at any point you did really want to commit to somebody, if you really wanted a serious relationship, you would need to be willing to let go of attention from multiple people in order to focus intently on one connection. And I think for guys, it could be the same. But also they will hook up with multiple girls at once and think that that's better than hooking up or being in love with one woman who really not only is like sexually compatible with them, but also able to facilitate emotional growth in a relationship, which is the role of women a lot of the time in relationships, is to carry the emotional load. And it doesn't mean that we should, but I think that a lot of men benefit from close relationships with women because it gives them an opportunity to explore their emotional reservoir in a way that they might not be able to otherwise. And when you're just hooking up with multiple people at once, whether you're a woman or a man or regardless of gender, I think that you do lose your capacity to deeply emotionally connect with people. It definitely creates an illusion of intimacy when you're physically intimate with people, but that's just physical intimacy. It's not emotional intimacy, and it can probably be exhausting. Like you only have so much energy in a day anyway. So depending on where your priorities are in life, you can decide how you want to approach these relationships. And there's nothing wrong with using the any benefit principle at certain stages in your life. Maybe that's what you want, maybe it's what you enjoy. But I'm just saying, for when you're trying to transition, remember that it takes effort and it takes time to concentrate your energy in one direction. It's hard to do both. You could try and you can let me know if it worked well for you, but I just think that in order to be like a functioning person who has a job and a social life that's healthy, you kind of need to cut the crap from certain areas of your life in order to do well. Because I've seen a lot of people entertain a lot of bullshit. I've been the person that's entertained a lot of bullshit, and it just gets exhausting, and you end up not thriving in any one area of your life because you're constantly trying to manage all these other parts. And then again, with the any benefit principle, I think it applies to clothes for me. At certain stages in my life, I would just buy stuff because I liked it, not because I loved it. And I would have a bunch of clothes, and it would be like, I like this top, I like that top, I like that top too, and I'm going to wear each top once, but I don't love any of the tops enough to wear them more than once. And now I just have 3 tops that I kind of like, and I just feel like I have nothing to wear because I don't buy stuff that I love, I just buy stuff that I like. And I accumulated a lot of crap as a result of that approach to fashion and style. And I think my personal style has changed a lot over the past few years as a result of not having access to my wardrobe, first of all, and then just sort of changing and also just being in a completely different environment to what I'm used to. A lot of the times now I just dress to be sitting at home, but one day we'll be out and about again. But yeah, I try really hard now to focus on buying stuff that I really like, and I'm more than happy to wear more than once. And I really feel like outfit repeating at this point is almost radical, considering the way that fast fashion and influencer fashion and social media fashion has made it seem like, oh, you can't wear the same thing twice. You need your feed to look a certain way. I fucking love outfit repeating. It makes life so much easier. Steve Jobs outfit repeated every single day, and you don't see anybody complaining about that. Even if your job is to work in fashion or to be a fashion influencer, I feel like being able to love an outfit enough to want to wear it more than once and be seen in it more than once means that you have good style. Even if the reason, for me, I outfit repeat because I'm lazy, and then I just tell myself it's more sustainable to have less clothes anyway. So I try to do whatever mental gymnastics is necessary to make sure that I'm spending money at least effectively, or able to sell off things that, I'm just not really that into anymore, but still at relatively good value, and still feeling confident in the way that I dress, or feeling comfortable in the way that I dress. So yeah, I feel like the any benefit principle can apply to anything. It can apply to the way you approach food. Sometimes you just will eat a bit of anything and everything just because it's food, and not really focus on eating something that's really nutritional, that's really going to, make you feel satiated. And then we just kind of emptily graze, settle for whatever, eat whatever, and never really feel satisfied. So any benefit principle, anytime you feel like you're wasting your energy or you're not getting the outcomes that you really want from your approach to something because you're kind of scattered in multiple directions, maybe ask yourself if you are using this any benefit principle. So to finish this episode off, I'm just going to mention a strategy that Cal Newport recommends, and he says that you can apply the law of the vital few to your internet habits, which you can obviously apply to anything, I guess, in some degree, to an any benefit approach that you're misusing in regards to something. So the first step of this strategy is to identify the main high-level goals in both your professional and personal life. Maybe it's you want to have close friends, a close group of friends that you can rely on, people that you feel that you can be your true self with. It might be that you want to have a wardrobe that you love and feel confident in. It might be that you want to have a healthy, committed relationship. Figure out what it is you want. So if you have a family, for example, then your personal goals might involve parenting well and running an organized household. In the professional sphere, the details of these goals depend on what you do for a living. In my own work as a professor, for example, I pursue 2 important goals. One centered on being an effective teacher in the classroom and effective mentor to my graduate students, and another centered on being an effective researcher. While your goals will likely differ, the key is to keep the list limited to what's most important and to keep the descriptions suitably high level. If your goals include a specific target to reach $1 million in sales or to publish half a dozen papers in a single year, then it's too specific for our purposes here. When you're done, you should have a small number of goals for both the personal and professional areas of your life. Once you've identified these goals, list each of the 2 or 3 most important activities that help you satisfy this goal. These activities should be specific enough to allow you to clearly picture doing them. On the other hand, they should be general enough that they're not tied to a one-time outcome. For example, do better research is too general. What does it look like to be doing better research? While finish a paper on broadcast lower bounds in time for upcoming conference submission is too specific, it's a one-time outcome. A good activity in this context would be something like regularly read and understand the cutting edge results in my field. The next step in this strategy is to consider the network tools you currently use. For each such tool, go through the key activities you'd identified and ask whether the use of the tool has a substantially positive impact, a substantially negative impact, or little impact on your regular and successful participation in the activity. Now comes the important decision. Keep using this tool only if you concluded that it has substantial positive impacts and that these outweigh the negative impacts. So say that my goal is I want to have a group of close-knit friends, or I want to have friends that I feel that are easy to communicate with, I don't feel anxious with. I would need to ask myself, like, what kind of traits am I looking for in the sorts of friends that I want to have, and does this align with the people that I currently know and consider my friends? And anything that doesn't align, I need to be ready to let go of. If I am trying to update my wardrobe in a way that is stylish but comfortable, I need to go through my wardrobe and be like, okay, what are the clothes that I do like? What are the clothes that I'm just not vibing with anymore? Get rid of the old stuff, whether it's donating, whether it's selling. And then moving forward, have a clear vision for the way that I want to dress. So for me, I look at Pinterest a lot for style inspiration. I guess I kind of look on Instagram a little bit, not that much. What else? Tumblr as well. I also think that TikTok can actually be helpful sometimes. I don't feel the need to dress exactly like anyone I see on TikTok, but sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I like this reference they used, or I'm reminded of this brand that I forgot about, or I'm exposed to a brand I've never seen before, and all of those things can provide inspiration for me. And then generally I try to buy things consignment from websites like The Real Real or Vestiaire, and then repurpose clothes that I already have, and then try to support like smaller brands where possible. That's kind of my current approach, but willing to re-strategize at any time. Say, for example, my goal is to be in a healthy and committed relationship. Then I need to assess the types of romantic attention that I currently am entertaining and whether it's working for me. And I was just thinking as I was reading this excerpt from the book about how people approach dating apps. I think the same way that we approach social media apps, it's possible that we apply the any benefit principle to dating apps as well. I'm not on dating apps, but when I speak to people about their experience on them, it's like they want something serious, but none of their experience on dating apps so far has been conducive to finding a serious relationship. So either they need to forego using dating apps, or they need to change their approach to dating apps in order to facilitate the goal that they're trying to achieve. So the any benefit principle, I feel like it's something that we can be naturally inclined towards, especially in this late capitalist, consumerist society where everything is marketed to you as beneficial to you. It's like, okay, I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take that. Like, you can take the same approach to your consumption. You just randomly buy things because you think it's going to improve your life, but you don't actually do anything with those tools once you receive them, because the high has already come with purchasing it, and after you receive it, it's no longer as interesting or as useful as you thought it was, so then you just go find something else to buy instead. Very easy cycle to get in, I think. People and their Instagram ads, the Instagram ads seem relentless. A lot of people tell me they buy stuff from Instagram ads. So I hope that this episode was interesting, and I would love to know if there are any areas of your life where you feel like You might be applying the any benefit principle, or you might have applied the any benefit principle without realizing, or any benefit approach. No shame. Awareness is the first step to then finding a solution. Give yourself time as well. Like for me, being able to have a healthy relationship with social media has taken me like almost 2 years. It's not that it was so unhealthy that I was like sick, but it just took a lot of different experimentation to see what does and doesn't work for me. You know, I took a significant time off social media in 2020. And then in 2021, I experimented with, you know, not logging on before a certain time, taking a day off during the week, thinking about the approach that I wanted to take on social media, how I wanted to present myself, things like that. And it's constantly evolving and shifting according to whatever I'm trying to achieve at a different stage in time. But yeah, I hope that maybe there's something from this episode that you've learned. I would love to hear from you. You can always DM me on friend.crush on Instagram or at amberakilla. I hope you are staying hydrated. I hope you're looking after yourself. Tell your friends and family that you love them. And I'll speak to you soon.